What's up, everybody? And by the time this video gets uploaded, happy St. Patrick's Day. Today I'm here to show you another vacuum that just joined my vacuum collection. Yes, it's another Hoover. I love Hoovers no matter what kind they are. I am especially a sucker for these old elite style Hoovers. And what I have here today is quite a rare find indeed. Here I have a Hoover Dirt Finder self-propelled upright vacuum. Or most people will probably know this vacuum better as is the Hoover Power Drive and Hoover Power Drive Supreme. This is one of the several versions of the Hoover Power Drive, and this is one of the higher end models because it has the rare embedded dirt finder, which is only on this specific model. And there was also, I think, a Turbo Power 7000 model that also had the embedded dirt finder, but those two of the Power Drive versions had the embedded dirt finder. And this one obviously comes in a nice dark green color scheme, which kind of makes sense that I upload this video on St. Patrick's Day because it's green. So why not anyway? But I digress. I bought this vacuum from a seller locally in my area for surprisingly pretty cheap. If you find a good deal on a vacuum that's something like this, or even if it's a super expensive vacuum that looks to be in good condition and you can get it for very cheap, I say go for it. This was one of those cases. And it got to me, and there was like literally nothing wrong with it. Everything worked on it as it should. The seller was nice enough to put new belts in the thing, both brush roll and self-propelled. And I know they're brand new because I gave this thing a little test run before I made this video for y'all. And everything works perfectly, and it is completely sound. The only thing it was missing was extension wand, which luckily I have. My collection is mostly Hoover parts galore because I have so many of these elite style uprights. But some people may remember that this particular elite style Hoover is not entirely all elite. The bottom end of this machine is the same as the Hoover Concept 1, Concept 2, and the Hoover Power Max. Basically, Hoover retained that bottom end piece to basically retain and keep the self-propelled feature for higher end models. They just took an upper dimension body and modified it to fit this concept chassis, and that's how you get self-propelled feature. There are some ways that Hoover kind of fell behind with when it came to building this, which I'll go over later in the video. But for now, let's give a walk through the machine. Right up here, you have your self-propelled handle, and there's the switch up front to actuate the self-propelled. When you turn it on, the handle will slide forward and back, basically enabling the self-propel feature. Pushing it forward, the handle will push itself forward, and the vacuum will obviously move forward. Pull it back, and it will do the obvious, pull itself backwards. And you could switch it off if you so desire, but why would you? This thing obviously adds a bit of weight to the vacuum, so it's good to have this thing as a feature. It definitely helps if you don't have the strength to push a vacuum, so this is there for that. But it's honestly very sensitive feature. It works so good, I will tell you. And right down here you have your main power switch to the vacuum, and as you saw right there, when I turn the vacuum on, or the power on, when the vacuum's not even plugged in, the embedded dirt finder turns on. That is mostly because the dirt finder is not ran off the motor. It is actually wired in by a little 9-volt battery that sits on this little storage tray underneath inside the bag on the upper part of the bag compartment. and that's what gives the dirt finder its power. And obviously there's a little sensor inside the fill tube there that senses the dirt coming in, and will switch between green and red depending on how dirty you're vacuuming. Which honestly, looking back, this feature was kind of a gimmick, but this did serve a purpose. It did let people know that their vacuum, in fact, was working. But unfortunately, I later found out this was a gimmick because over time, the little sensor inside will cake up with dirt, and most of the time, it'll be stuck on red all the time. I know because I actually had a Hoover Windtunnel that got used very heavily, and the dirt sensor is actually stuck on red. So I tried cleaning it out as best as I can, and occasionally it does flickers, but then again, you just have to use your own judgment if this feature were to eventually stop working. But so far, this seems to work pretty good right now. So typical Hoover dimension power drive fare. You have your tool storage on the top here. You have your crevice tool, dusting brush, and upholstery tool. These are all original to the machine. Luckily, they did come with them. And as we move down here, we have your air freshener scent right here. You just open this up if you want scent. And also right here, up here, you do have a little bag check indicator. And basically how this works is the bag check arm normally sits on this little hinge right here. Let me reconnect that. It is kind of working itself loose. But how this works is as your bag fills up, this eventually slides out to let you know that you need to change your bag, and it presses up against this little plunger type thing, which pushes it out. Pretty interesting feature for a direct air vacuum, I will say. Hoover was kind of clever coming up with this. And right here is the little compartment right here for a fresh scent tablet. And inside here you do have your Hoover, what normally would have been a Type Z bag, or a Z if you live just north of the United States. But anyway, this here is a HEPA Type Y bag, which luckily you can get the Type Ys in HEPA configuration. I haven't seen any HEPA Type Zs yet, but as far as I know, Type Z and Type Y are the same bag. The Type Ys are a little bit smaller than the Zs, but at least these come in HEPA configuration, and you get much better filtration out of them. So moving on down here, you have right here your carpet height adjustment, right in the middle. You have your big Hoover lettering right here, self-propelled, brushed edge cleaning on both sides. Use it only 7.8 amps, which this is a pretty energy efficient vacuum for its time. Yeah, even in today's standards, now that everything's going to 12 amps of vacuum power, this is definitely conserves a little less energy than today's vacuums. You also do have an interesting belt check indicator. This little device right here that has a little rotating indicator to let you know that you need to check your belt if it starts to stretch and wear or break. This thing will turn to let you know that it is working. And also right up here, you have more lettering right here. Your self-propelled and 100% of dust mites and their eggs, allergen filtration, 99.98% ragweed pollens, and common grass pollens. Well, now that it's running a HEPA bag, it definitely could live up to those claims. And right over here to the side, you have obviously your extension wand and your flexible hose that's mounted on the side. The only thing that really gets me about these power drive machines is this has the traditional lower end style Elite hose connection where you have to flip up this little door, pull the hose off the rack like such, and then stick it down inside the head of the vacuum just to use your tools, which the only reason I do not like about this is because the regular Dimension machines, as well as the predecessor to that, the Hoover Legacy, actually uses an automatic hose, which is permanently attached to the machine and can be controlled by the carpet height adjustment by sliding it to the highest setting to block off suction going to the head of the vacuum, and all of it will go through your hose, which was a little more convenient than this style, because this is the same thing that the cheaper lower end Elites use. I do not know what the idea for Hoover thinking they could just go this route instead of taking some time and effort to put an automatic hose into it, because you're spending so much money for these things when it was brand new, and you get the self-propelled feature, but for whatever reason you don't get the automatic hose unless you step down and get, like, say, the Dimension, which kind of sucks if you for one of these. It doesn't have the automatic hose like the Dimensions do, but it's still a great machine irregardless. So now let's go ahead and tip this thing back to show you the underside. Right underneath, here is your brush roll, and it is a helix style brush roll, which funnels everything to the side so this suction path can take it away. The bristles are surprisingly in very good condition. They're honestly in better condition than some of the other power drives I got, which is a good thing because these brush rolls are nearly unobtainable. You can't find these things anymore. And this is the same style that the later style Power Maxes used, and they're just impossible to come by because these parts are very scarce. But the bristles are pretty nice and stiff. And they do have a little bit of wear. As you can see, that the bristles are getting kind of sparse. Or excuse me, kind of dense, I should say. Definitely cleans very good for what it is. And like I said, this brush roll is in better condition than some of the other power drives I have. And one cool thing I found out about these things, as far as brush roll compatibility is concerned, I have actually fit a Hoover Concept 1, Concept 2 Quadraflex brush roll into one of these power drives. And they do fit, but they will work as long as you run the specific bottom plate that has the singular ridge right here to contour the bristles. And you run this metal cage, or you could run the risk of damaging that particular brush roll because it has super soft bristles, but also you have stiffeners, so there could be some clearance issues. So if you get a Quadraflex brush roll to put in this, I recommend getting the specific bottom plate if you could find it. But it's going to be hard to find them because, like I said, parts are unobtainable and they're not easy to come by. You'll be lucky if you find one new old stock, but not very easy to find. So anyway, right down here, you do have your drive wheels for the self-propelled transmission. And right here are these two latches to remove the bottom plate to change the belt, which honestly, this is a much easier to change the belt on one of these than it is a traditional Elite, because on those you got to pop off the bottom plate, then you got to pop off the entire hood assembly just to get to the belt. This one, you just pull those latches out, and then off comes your bottom plate, and you can get access to your belts. This big belt right here is for the brush roll, and this side little belt right here is for the self-propelled drive. They do look very new to me. So kudos to the seller for putting fresh new belts into this thing. Now let's go ahead and latch this guy back in place. Now we'll go ahead and tip the machine back up. And we'll go ahead and show you the model number on the back. Here it is. Hoover cleaner model U6331-930. 120 volts, 60 hertz, 7.8 amps. In bag type Z. And you have your belt number for this style belt you have, for one for the brush roll and then the other for the self-propelled. And serial date these things. is the first 4 digits. These 4, I could tell you decode the month and the year. So 10 of 97, so this vacuum was manufactured in October of 1997. The final year for these Elite style power drives before they were replaced by the Windtunnel version. For household use only, made in the USA. That is what I love about these older Hoovers, is that they're American made. You will never see any cheap department store vacuum that's made in the USA today. Maybe Mexico, but I've never seen any that's made in the USA. Without using globally sourced components, that is. But enough of that. Let's go ahead and release the cord, which the cord on this is very long. It's got to at least be 30 feet. And also the best part is, since this vacuum is in such great condition, even the cord is in phenomenal condition. I mean, I have not found one nick or tear or fray anywhere in the cord. So this thing was definitely well cared for. So now for the main event, let's go ahead and turn this thing on and demo it for you guys so you can hear just how smooth this thing runs. Now, also another thing that's pretty common for Elites, that is, they are known to be very loud when they're running. But headphone users, beware, so turn your volume down for this part. So, here we go. Let's switch the self-propelled on. see, this thing runs exceptionally smooth. Surprisingly, it's pretty quiet for what it is. But anyway, before we end the video, I'll go ahead and demonstrate this in tool mode. So lift this door and pop the hose in like such. Now, one thing I would like to mention, since this is a direct air machine, don't expect miracle suction power from this thing. But it's okay for what it is. Dusting brush. Man, this vacuum is such a smooth runner. Honestly, it's better than even my red Power Drive Supreme. But well, everybody, I hope you've enjoyed this video on the Hoover Dirt Finder Power Drive. Be sure and stay tuned, and don't forget to like, rate, comment, and subscribe. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.